Good morning and welcome to the Public File. I'm Doug Thomas, and my guests for this segment are Sac Metro Air District Chair and City of Sacramento Councilmember Eric Guerra and Sac Metro Air District Transportation and Climate Change Division Manager Jaime Lemus. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, nothing important, right? Just some clean air, right? That's all we're talking about. So,
well, let's Only necessary to breathe and live.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we like the simple things in life. You know, clean air, clean water, and a nice steak dinner every now and then. Well, let's start with a little background, gentlemen. Tell me all about the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District.
Well, it is your public health agency for the Sacramento County region that ensures that we're making the air clean and healthy to live. It is the body that actually has to follow and meet the standards of the Federal Clean Air Act. And it's represented by elected officials, council members like myself. I happen to be the chair, and other council members and mayors from our surrounding region and county. So Elk Grove, Rancho Cordova, Citrus Heights, Folsom, and even in the unincorporated counties. So everyone has an actual representative on the air district, which is our public health agency, making sure that we all got clean air to breathe.
How big of a problem is air pollution in the Sacramento region, and what are the biggest sources?
That's one of the issues that we've been tackling for a long time. And Jaime can talk a little bit about this, but Sacramento has the 5th worst air quality in the nation. And much of it has to do because of our geography, but also a lot of it has to do because of the way our city is planned, the number of vehicles, the number of freeways that are around our area. So for us, and particularly for kids who their lung development is affected drastically by poor air, it's a real critical issue. Wouldn't you say that, Jaime?
It is. And, as much as we all love Sacramento, other people love Sacramento too. And so we have this influx of folks moving into the Sacramento region. And so, as our chair Guerra just mentioned, we are nested right in the middle of all of these corridors. We have the I-5, we have the 99, we have the 50 and the 80, all intersecting within Sacramento, which is an excellent goods movement transportation hub. And so because of that, we have all of these big rig tractors, we have a lot of goods movement running through the region, and then of course, that contributes to our bad air here in the region, right? And so the more and more we have people move to Sacramento, the more and more we have goods moving through Sacramento, that adds and compounds to our air pollution problem here in the region.
It's a tricky balance, because these are great jobs and opportunities for people for employment. We're trying to help people make sure that they can make a living, but at the same time, we want them to live healthy. So the approach that the Air District has looked at is how do we not think myopically? We definitely need to address our air quality because kids got to walk outside, and if we want to reduce the issues of obesity and diabetes, we need to make sure that it's healthy for them to go out there and play soccer and baseball and run around. But at the same time, we've got to make sure we are managing how our economy grows in a responsible way.
Let's elaborate on the different types of air pollution here in Sacramento and how it can affect the health of our residents.
Basically, we can break it down simply into 2 types of sources. Basically, your stationary sources and then your mobile sources. Your stationary sources can be everything from a manufacturing facility, a business, and then the mobile sources are us, moving in vehicles, trucks, trailers, even the railroad itself. When you simplify it all, those are the 2 major sources of pollutants that are affecting us. Landfills are one of those. So we have to find different methods to try to address those. Now, thanks to the great work of a lot of our experts and scientists in the Air Quality Management District and working with our industry, we've really gotten a strong hold on the stationary sources, all of our local entities, and we'll have a great partnership working with our manufacturers in our area that are employing so many people by figuring and helping them find different ways to reduce their emissions. But we still have a huge, huge challenge with mobile sources. What do you say that, Jaime?
That's right. And it really is challenging because of the way Sacramento's built, right? And you mentioned this earlier, our land use development, our land use decisions. And in order for us to get from one place to another here in Sacramento, what do? We jump in our cars, right? So that, of course, leads to a lot of the mobile pollution here in Sacramento.
If anybody goes to sparetheair.com, you'll see 2 different types of air quality measurements, your particulate matters and your NOx. One is basically the smog, and the other one is these little particulates, mainly from diesels and big rigs that get into our lungs and can cause long-term lung effects. And we try to figure out how do we reduce both of those contaminants that affect us.
Yeah, and I'll tell you drive anywhere around town, and the good news is there's construction everywhere. Lots of houses going up, but the bad news is, of course, that's going to contribute to the issue.
It is, but even construction, for example, all of our contractors, particulates like dust and whatnot, they have to have a air quality mitigation plan. And so by working with the industry, we figure out, okay, this development that's happening, we want to get more housing. We definitely have a housing shortage. And if we want responsible growth by making sure we're doing infill, then we have to be able to construct more buildings. So as we move forward, we have to figure out, okay, what are the best ways to help providing solutions in technology? Jaime and I both got a chance to learn a lot from a lot of the research that's happening actually in Germany about these heavy-duty type of equipment as well, and how they've addressed some of their challenges to making sure they keep the air clean, and we can do those here too.
What can you tell me about greenhouse gases and climate change and how those things are affecting our local air pollution?
Let me jump in on this one here. I think, when we talk about greenhouse gases, it's very scientific. So let's break that down a little bit. And let's really talk about our carbon footprint, right, which is another scientific word. But really what it is it's everything that we do that burns fossil fuels. So that means creating electricity, creating our heat, and our transportation. So as we look at ourselves, as we look at our homes, this is our home appliances, this is our cars, our lawnmowers, and other equipment that runs off of gasoline and diesel. And so as we use these on a daily basis, all of these, as well as what our chair Guerra mentioned already, the big rigs and the transportation of goods and movements, the creation of construction, housing, and development, all contribute to our greenhouse gases and climate change. And then, of course, that is extremely bad for our health as well.
Well, let's talk a little bit about a success here. For a long time in Sacramento, in the winter, it can get a little cold, a little chilly here. Many of us loved our wood-burning stoves and our fireplaces. We've made tremendous efforts through Check Before You Burn of when is a safe time to burn, and many people have actually opted to replace their fireplaces with gas and electric fireplaces that reduced all these particulates. It used to be extremely terrible in the wintertime.
Right.
When all those fireplaces were burned. But we've actually seen a humongous change in that by those efforts. In the summertime, when it gets hot, then ozone becomes a very big problem. So maybe the particulates in the winter is one issue, but in the summertime, when it's really hot, the ozone makes it very difficult to breathe in the area. That's the smog that we always talk about, the haze in the summer. So different type of effect. But all of those lead to climate change, which has affected our Sierras, caused these forest fires. We lost our tree canopy there, so the snow is melting quicker. We can't retain it. It leads to the drought. It's all interconnected.
What are some of the steps you've seen the Biden-Harris administration take on or plan to take on to combat climate change, and how's that going to improve the air quality in our region?
Well, clearly, I think, and Jaime, maybe you could probably jump in a little bit on this, but this is the largest amount of infusion of dollars, and also the conversation on infrastructure that's important, and also on electrification. So I think this is the first time we've seen a dramatic amount of funding that not only can address our climate change, but also creates economic opportunity. There is a solution to also good employment opportunities in the middle-skilled jobs, in the trades, to address some of our challenges.
And the Biden administration is committing to a 50% reduction in greenhouse gas pollution by 2030. So that's just around the corner. And so, in addition, it's committing to creating a carbon pollution-free power sector by 2035. So that's really great. And so it's not just making the commitment, it's making the financial commitment to get us there, which means that as we look at here, one of our local heroes here, SMUD, that's committed to zero carbon by 2030, it means that the federal administration will be able to have the funding to get our partners like SMUD there. It'll get all of us into that trajectory, into zero emission and carbon free. Not carbon neutrality, because that's a different thing, but carbon free, which means that we'll be able to create power, we'll be able to move around, we'll be able to run our businesses and not create any emission pollution. That's just fascinating right there.
That is huge, absolutely. Are there local programs or funding available for residents so they can take steps to improve the air quality on their own?
We do. We run a large portfolio, probably of about $20 million in all transportation incentive programs. They cater to the business sector, to the community business organizations, and even to the residents. And so here's a few for the residential programs. We have our Clean Cars for All program, which provides up to $9,500 to replace an old car for a new zero-emission car. That's the carcancha that Eric always talks about.
Wow.
Jalopy, yeah.
Jalopy, yeah. This program, though, is so darn popular that we're on hold right now because we can't process as fast as the applications are coming through. So that one's on hold right now, but that's something to look forward to very soon again. We also have the car share program that is being offered in various mutual housing and SHRA apartments. These are free zero-emission vehicles that residents of these facilities can use for free. So zero-emission free vehicles that residents in these apartment complexes can use to get around. And then finally, we've partnered with SMUD to replace old, dirty lawnmowers with electric lawnmowers. So the Sac Metro Air District can offer you $145 in an instant rebate on a new electric lawnmower. And it's very easy. You take your SMUD bill, you take your old lawnmower, you take it to Bliss Power Lawn Equipment over there on Fulton and Arden. You pick out an eligible zero-emission lawnmower, you complete the application, and boom, you get your discount off automatically there. And if you're part of the SMUD's Energy Assistance Program, you get an additional $100 off. So you can purchase yourself a zero-emission lawnmower, one of the state-of-the-art by one of the state-of-the-art manufacturers, for about $150. And so all the way from moving people around to sharing vehicles so people can move around to your own backyard lawnmower equipment. And those are some of the residential programs that we do have.
And I'll tell you, I wish that rebate was around when I bought my lawnmower. But either way, I got to tell you, anybody who has their own lawnmower, how many times they got to pull that cord because they probably haven't cleaned their spark plug for months. Not only that, but your neighbor's upset every morning on Sunday when they're trying to have their cup of coffee outside and you're mowing your lawn. My lawnmower is so quiet, it turns on with the push of a button, and I get done in just as much time, and I don't got to go to the gas station to go fill up a gas can.
Right. Well, I just want you guys to know that I've been zero emission my entire life because my dad is a retired science teacher, and yeah, we've had a push mower my whole life.
They got good deltoids.
Absolutely.
And you know what?
Little exercise.
That is one of the things I think that we forget, right? When we look at transportation, when we look at even the lawnmower equipment, we do have push lawnmowers, we have bicycles, and we can walk to places. And I think we forget that, right? We want to jump in these fancy zero-emission vehicles or even the jump transportation bikes and line bikes and scooters.
Right.
But we can always walk there. We can always walk there.
Absolutely.
Even the decision to ride your bike once a week, if you can, and now all of us, the land use is becoming a big conversation on how we plan our cities better. But if you can have the opportunity to ride your bike just once a week, you've already reduced your vehicle pollution by almost 20%. And that's a huge number.
You're listening to The Public File. I'm Doug Thomas, and my guests this morning are Eric Guerra and Jaime Lemus of the Sac Metro Air District, sparetheair.com. Now, gentlemen, I hear Sacramento County has the largest electric school bus fleet in North America. That's great news. How did that happen?
Oh, my gosh. This is something that we're absolutely very proud of here in Sacramento. But we do have to give credit to our zero-emission school bus champions at Twin River School District, Tim Shannon, and our leadership, like our Chair Guerra and the members of our board, who committed funding to providing zero-emission school buses to school districts. And just to get us even started, our agency committed to provide at least one zero-emission school bus for free to every school district. And that was so that every school district can at least try it, right? We can't say it doesn't work unless you try it. So we committed to that. And then in addition, we heard from the community. These are the community folks that we deal with every single day, from the community organizations to our residences, that the priority was school buses and how they get their kids to and from school. So we directed our funding to school buses. And so we're covering up to 80% of the bus cost now. So that's for a zero-emission school bus. And so within the next couple of years, we're going to have about 180 zero-emission school buses transporting our children here in our Sacramento region. And so that's something really awesome. But even yet, 180 is not a lot. We've got to try to do all of them, but this is a really great start.
It is so critical because if any of us remember what it was like to jump in the back of that school bus, you could smell the diesel.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how good those windows are, you could always smell the diesel, particularly on a hot day. And those kids are breathing those fumes. And then those buses are driving through communities, leaving particulates in the air as they're going out. So from a health standpoint, again, our kids' lungs are developing all through their formative years. And if they're being impacted just by going to school, that's a critical health issue. The other piece here, not only has, because of the leadership here at Twin Rivers, where even the fleet manager was skeptical, now he's become an evangelical speaker about it because it reduces the maintenance costs. If anybody's worked on a car, I remember working on cars all through high school, you have just so many more moving parts that wear and tear in a non-electric type of a vehicle. So the maintenance cost is actually reduced for electric buses. Sacramento now has the largest school bus fleet in Twin Rivers, and then the second largest school bus fleet in the nation as well in Elk Grove Unified. It is leadership that's happening here in our region and not in the Bay Area, not in another state, but here in Sacramento.
Well, let's talk about another issue that definitely has a lot to do with particulate matter, and that would be all the major wildfires. Wildfire smoke has been just horrible, seems to be getting more common every year.
It really has been. And again, this goes back to the conversation about climate change.
Right.
And how it affects all of us. One of the things about the Air District is we don't operate in a silo. We actually work with all of our neighboring air districts. The federal air quality attainment zone is actually a multiple number of counties, all the way from Lake Tahoe down to Vacaville and the Fairfield area. And what we recognize is that air pollution doesn't stay within political boundaries. We need to work collectively to address these issues. And when smoke issues and fire issues are happening in the north area, they come and affect folks here. In fact, part of our collaboration, going back to electric school buses, because Sacramento has a little more capacity, we were able to help Vacaville with their school bus fleet. Well, when we reduce our emissions and particulates, on the normal, it helps with when we have these major situations. But if we don't address the issue of climate change and we don't address issues of resiliency, then we're going to continue to see these fires happen more and more. That means we have to make conscious decisions about where we invest our resources, how we better plan our cities so that we're planning responsibly, and what we can do everything we can to affect our own environment.
Unfortunately, wildfire smoke isn't going away anytime soon, and so when we're dealing with that, can you recommend any resources for forecasting and more details?
Well, definitely you can go to airquality.org. You can also, and you can track kind of where the wildfire smoke is moving. We have now real-time sensors that can give us indications and forecasts of when the smoke is happening. In fact, this year at the Air District, we would give out public notices about, I guess this weekend it's going to be a smoke day. We're able to identify and give people an opportunity so they can make appropriate choices. One of the exciting things that the City Council has done recently in partnership with the Air District is we're including more community air monitors also in different areas of our city so that the public is better informed about how they can make decisions. And not only that, as we get more of this data, we're going to be able to do better planning to address those issues of wildfire smoke.
All right, one more issue before I let you guys go. I understand the Check Before You Burn program is going to resume on November 1st. What can you tell me about that?
I mentioned it a little bit earlier. One of our biggest successes was we used to have terrible, terrible smoke during the holidays. Now we ask everybody beginning November 1st, if you're going to burn, if you're going to, use your fireplace, Check Before You Burn is a great program for us to understand where we are on our attainment level. There's not only for good public health do we want to make sure that we're not burning when the particulate levels are high, but there's actually consequences for us as a region if we don't meet our federal air quality attainment. We could lose huge amounts of federal dollars for us not maintaining our air quality level at that. And that affects every area of our region.
Right.
So it's important that we all work together.
And Eric, I do want to add that not only do we lose federal dollars, but the EPA then would require us to be more strict with our rules and regulations then on top of that. So that also means that businesses would also be impacted. They would be impacted potentially by more stricter air quality regulations then, which could be more costly to them as well. And so when we think about funding, we also have to think about on the other side of rules, regulations, and enforcement as well.
So that's a good point. And one thing you should know is that, in fact, when we've gone to Washington to lobby for more air quality resources and how do we improve our air, some of our biggest advocates have been companies like Tyker, who say, hey, look, we're in this to make sure that as we are doing construction and working, we're improving our air, because if the regulations are too stringent and we can't, say, continue the construction of new housing or development, then that affects local jobs. That affects addressing our shortages and housing needs. And it has this ripple effect in the community. So the goal of everybody working together to reduce our air, and everyone who's listening, we can all do our part. It doesn't mean you have to completely transform your life, but if we slowly all start doing our little part, including as a small business, what you're doing as a part, we can improve our air quality and avoid also some onerous regulations that could affect also our employment base.
Thank you both so much for your time this morning, gentlemen. Sac Metro Air District Chair and City of Sacramento Councilmember Eric Guerra and Sac Metro Air District Transportation and Climate Change Division Manager Jaime Lemus. Online at sparetheair.com. Thank you, guys.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
This has been The Public File. If you'd like us to cover your nonprofit, email sacpsa@audacy.com, sacpsa@audacy.com. I'm Doug Thomas. Stay safe, stay connected.